Hey everyone, welcome back to Glitz and Glitter. I got my Geode coasters out. I'm going back to basics. There's always new people on my channel and I always like to come back to these every couple months and do a set for all the new people, because when I first started resin, this was the very first thing I ever did because it's almost foolproof. You really can't screw it up and they look beautiful. So we have Memorial Day coming up. We have the 4th of July coming up in the US. So I'm going to do red, white, and blue. I'm actually going to do red and white Geode. This is the closest I have to a true red. This is by Unicone and it's called Shortcake. And then I'm going to be using the white by Let's Resin. And then when they suck to the center, I like to usually stick like a flower sticker inside before I do a top coat or something pretty in the inside. So I pulled out my patriotic stickers. So we will see what will look good, if anything, if I need to, when they're done. So these each hold 3.5 ounces. I don't fill them up. I'm going to put 2 ounces in each one. So 2 in here and 2 in here. I'm going to be using my epoxy, this one here. And the reason I'm going to use this one is it's going to move longer. It moves longer than my casting resin. You have more working time. And when you do the effect for the Geode, you need as much working time as possible so you can get all that action going in there. So when I split up the resin into the 3 colors, I'll let you know. I'm going to do the least amount of red. The red's going to go along the very edge, and then more white than clear in the center. And that's going to give you the Geode effect where it all comes to the center and you're going to have the striations form. Hopefully it'll work this time. Sometimes I don't do the right, formula. I had a formula. I'd better stick to my old formula. My old formula always worked. So let's go back to the old formula. But sometimes it doesn't always come to the center. And if it doesn't, you can take a syringe and kind of suck the center out. But if you're new, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But I have several Geode coasters on my channel. I'll link another one for you at the end of this video. So I'm going to mix up 4 ounces of my epoxy resin, get that ready, and then I'll let you know how I split it up. I know almost 2 ounces is going to be clear. It's so hard to split a little number, but yeah, about 2 ounces clear, and that's 1 for each one, and then the rest of it is going to be split between the red and the white. A little less red, a little more white, because the red's going to kind of take over. In my head, that's what's going to happen. So let me get that mixed up. It does not need to go through the vacuum chamber for this. Anytime you're using mica powders, you don't need to do that. So I will be RB. So I mixed up 4 ounces of the, now this is the first time I'm using the epoxy one. I've always used my casting one. So this is new to me and I'm hoping it works just as well as the casting one. Whatever I mix up, my old, like 2 years ago when I started resin and I started doing these, I came up with a formula that worked. And whatever I mixed, I kept half for clear. So because I mixed 4 ounces, I kept half of that, which is 2 ounces, for my clear. I did a 1/2 ounce here for the red, because the red, whatever dark color you choose, should go on the outside. That color is going to usually take over. And I did like 1.5 ounces of the white. Now when you mix in your mica powders, you need a pretty decent amount. Oh wow, look, I must have used this red a lot. There's hardly any left. You don't want to overdo it, but you don't want to underdo it. So if they don't work for you, most likely, 1, you need a resin that's going to move for a long time. And if you do know that your resin moves a long time, the only other problem it would be is the amount of mica powder you're putting in there. So you can always like make a recipe and stick to it. I have done that before. I've made huge placemats for my friend Maria in the past before she was into resin. And I literally measured, because I only had one. We made a homemade mold for the placemat, and I can only do one at a time, but we needed 6 of them to look exactly the same, or as the same as possible. So what we did, I measured by teaspoon how much powder. So when I did it, I used the exact same recipe, the exact same amount of powder in each cup. And they all came out really, really similar. So if you come up with a formula that works, you should really measure it every time you do this. And then when you find the formula, keep that and continue using it. Now, if you watch my channel, you will notice that I veer off a lot from the formula because I'm trying to see if other things work, and a lot of times they don't work. So I'm going back. The only thing I didn't do is measure my powders for something this small. I've screwed that up in the past as well. I've not put enough in, and you don't get the effect that you're going for, like all those pretty line striations that you want. That's because you're not using enough mica powder. Now, if you use too much mica powder, you're not going to get that because it's too heavy to be moving. So it's a happy medium, and it's really hard to tell you because I don't know how many coasters you're making, and it's going to change no matter what. Now, I'm only doing 2 coasters. So I'm just kind of eyeballing it on my stick, making sure I can't see my stick. And typically the best ones I've made, in all the ones I've made a lot of them, is a color, 2 colors. 3 colors don't work. Don't even try it. I mean, you can try it, but I'm telling you, it isn't going to work unless you stack the colors on top of each other. If you put the colors next to each other, they don't merge together. So the best ones I've ever made are always 2 colors, and it's always a white and a color. I've never really gotten good results with 2 different colors. One always ends up taking over or hides the other one completely. So I'm going to go back to my basics because this is a back to basics video, especially for the new people. So if I need more clear, I don't think I'm going to, because I just want a thin line of this red. And if I don't even use it all, that's okay too. So you're just going to, let me move this stuff out of my way or it gets in the way of my hands. Let me see if I can, my phone is like blinking all of a sudden, and it never did that before, so I can't zoom in really, really close anymore for some reason. I'm just going to take this red and evenly distribute it around the edge. And if I have some left, I'll do it again. Now I know a ½ ounce doesn't sound like a lot, but I'm telling you, your dark color that goes around the edge, 99% of the time that I've done it, ends up taking over most of your coaster. And this was literally a ½ ounce. Even when I was mixing it today, I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound like enough, but I still have more in here. So I'm just going to put it around here. And if the middle doesn't close the way I want it to close, before it sets up, take a syringe, like I said, and suck the middle out so you can close it right before it's completely set. Now the backs of these coasters are not going to be very pretty unless you do a crackle effect. Now you can do a dual coaster and do a crackle effect for the back by pouring a layer of clear down first, which I did not do. So the backs of my coasters are not going to be very pretty. Maybe I can do, if you want to see a dual-sided coaster, let me know in the comments. So the back would be crackle and the front would be geode. And if you guys want to see that, I'll go ahead and do a video for you on that too. I've done one in the past. I don't remember what number video it is, but they are pretty cool too. And then you would have a 2-sided coaster to use. This one, when you flip it over, you're going to see the clear circle lines of the color. All right, I'm just going to restir because Sometimes the mica's not stirred very nice, and you will see that. It will show. So make sure your mica powder is completely stirred in. And then I'm just going to do the exact same thing with the white. And I'm going to go right up to the edge of the red. Now really nothing's going to happen until we add the clear. I try to keep a circle because if you don't keep that circle, your center is going to be off. And sometimes if your surface isn't level, it's going to make your center be off anyway. So you'll want to kind of watch that as well. I'm going to use up all my white. And the reaction is going to start when we pour the clear in. Now these stayed pretty circular. Sometimes I have no control over it and I get really upset that the circle's gone. So just take your time when you're doing it. Now I will tell you, do not top coat these until they are fully cured. They will ruin. I have done that before. Take my word for it. Do not top coat these until they are fully cured. Trust me on this one. So that was about 1 ounce. Exactly. I'm going to pour the rest into this one. And that is going to start the reaction that we want. That sticks a little small. So I know now that I have 4 ounces between the two and I needed 7. So when we do the top coat, I only need to mix up 3 more ounces between the two of them. I'm going to take my heat gun after I wipe these sticks down. I'm going to take the heat gun. I'm just going to go kind of around it and kind of help it warm it up. Get rid of that. And if you feel it needs some help later, you can do that again. I'm not trying to move it at all. I'm just trying to get it to flow together. There's a little... I really don't like touching it when it's doing this. I will put you on a time lapse for a little while so you can see how this is going to work. It's been like a half hour. You saw the time lapse, and as you can see, my circle is not closing evenly, so I grabbed a syringe just to show you. I need a little cup or something to squirt it in. Now you can clean this with alcohol if you want to fill it with alcohol a whole bunch. I have a whole bunch, so I just usually get rid of them. So I'm just going to kind of suck the center into... Now granted, we got to remember that when we fill the top coat. See how that pulls it in? And then we'll do this one. I'm just wanting my center closed a little more than it already is. I'm going to do it right here as well. I hope you can see. That one looks pretty good. I'm gonna do a little more on this side. If you don't want to put a sticker in the center, you can actually swirl that. You can take and swirl it like a flower. But this is looking pretty good, because I think now I will be able to put one of my stickers on the center and cover that up. So it's really not done moving. But as you can see, the red, it really took over. Let me get you closer. My zoom isn't working, so I'm gonna just bring it down. See all those striations? That's what I was going for. But as I was telling you, that tiny little bit of red really took over. But then this one, the white is starting to come from up underneath, and it's gonna go up over the edge. So it's probably not finished. It's still pretty liquidy. So we're just gonna let this rest overnight. And like I said, do not top coat this until it is fully cured, or you will ruin that. So, as usual, I have to go with plan B, because the mica powder dried with an orange tint to it. And you may not be able to tell on the camera, but the red is not the right red. So I've gone through everything that I could go through in my room. These are too red. These are like little flowers. And then I had found these little puffy flowers, which are really pretty, and I haven't used them yet, which the orange one would look good, but it's not perfect. It's not what I wanted. I've gone through all of these in the books that I've used before inside of these, but these are very dulled colors. They're not bright. So those were out of the question. I had 2 books of those that weren't going to work. And then I went into my stash of, I've already mixed my resin, by the way, debubbled it, waiting for my decision. I went into my brooches and I was like, oh my gosh, that is perfect. It looks so beautiful in there. Like, I wanted to use that so badly. So I grabbed my ruler, I stuck it in the center, and realized it is way too tall for the mold. So I can't even dome it that high. So those were out of the question. So then I went into my charms and I found the most beautiful charm that would have looked so pretty on there. And same thing, that pearl is raised too high. So after plan B, C, D, E, and F, I have these Tree of Life charms. And I think that these will be my next plan. And I'll stick these in the center. Since they're heavy, they'll stay down. Like that and like that. And I'm going to mix in some of my crushed crystal to go with it. Hopefully, plan D, E, and F, and G, and H is going to work. I don't like it when my plans don't work, because then I have to improvise, and it's not my original plan. The good thing about this one, though, is, hang on, I'm trying to get something off my stick here. I'm just going to get a new stick. Why don't I just do that? I don't know. Okay. The good thing is my design worked really nice. Really pretty. Look at these striations. It is going to be see-through. And the backs are not, that is exactly what I told you they would be. The rings of color. So this is definitely the front of a Geode coaster. Now, like I said, if you poured clear on the back first, you would have the crackle effect on the back and this on the front. So that's always an option. So I'm just going to mix up a little bit just to give it a hint of shimmer. Now that I just pulled the bubbles out of here, and this is getting warm because I have taken so long to figure out what I'm going to do. And I just stirred in some more bubbles. I don't have enough time to put it through the vacuum chamber again. So it looks like I'm just going to be like torching them, which I don't want to do, or spraying them with alcohol. It should be thin enough. The bubbles should come out. So that was a waste of my time in the vacuum chamber. I'm going to pour this in first and then put the charm in last. So I'm going to help pop bubbles by pouring it high and slow. And bubbles should pop in that stream right there. And then I'll place the charm in and just leave it alone and let them cure overnight. So yeah, red, I don't have good luck with reds. When I think it's the perfect red, it's just not. Not for that anyway. I think this would make a fine red for like Christmas time. I'm just going to let that settle before I dome it. But this is not the perfect red for red, white, and blue. So that was unfortunate. And this crystals will hide any bubbles too, so most likely won't see any bubbles even if they're in there. All right, I do need more. I just don't want to overfill because I don't want it to start spilling out. Now these need to be raised up on the one side still. I haven't re-leveled this yet since they redid my counters. So I'm still propping this up so they're not off center. Or not off center, you know what I mean. All right, I'm just going to drop these in because they should sink. They should go right below the surface and stay in place. I've never put a charm in a coaster before, so this is a first. And I don't see, I mean, clearly we know what it's going to look like before we pour it, so I think I like it. I don't know, do you guys like the charm in there? Nothing's out of the question. Okay, now that I lifted that side up, I can put just a little bit more in each one. Now, if you can get these domed perfectly, you'll have no trimming. That's my goal all the time because I don't like to trim. I don't like what it looks like at the trim portion because it will dull your resin. Then you have to shine it back up or cover it with like a paint pen. I can go a little bit more. Just look at it from eye level and you'll see what I'm talking about. A little bubble going over the edge, that's what I'm looking for. Because they are going to shrink just a tad bit. And remember that resin that I pulled out with the syringe? So I took that, I added a new mica powder that I just ordered, which is the Rolio Pearl White, which is really pretty and shimmery. And I stuck it in some pendant molds. So that wasn't a waste of resin because I'm making something else out of it. I'm just going to spray these with alcohol. And I'm just going to let them be. I'm not going to heat mat them, nothing. It's too late at night to worry about that. I've got a tiny bit left for something else I will make. And, oops, I just want to recenter that. Doesn't look perfect. And that's it. All right, so I will see you tomorrow. All right, everything's cured. It's the next day. They look really good. They're still domed really nicely. You can kind of see them up over the edge, so I anticipate no trimming. Here's the extras that I pulled out of the, when I sucked the center out, I didn't want to waste it. So I made some, I did add a little bit of glitter to some of them. I didn't add anything to the white ones, but I did add the black. So 3 pairs of earrings. Some of these are from other projects that I ended up demolding at the same time. Here's a couple pendants. And then these 3. These 3 are really pretty. These 3 are going to end up on my eBay store. I love them that much. I don't want to just give them away to somebody who won't appreciate them, but they're really pretty. So these are going to be available there if you want them. Everything is top coated with UV resin and of course cured. So let's get these out. I'll show you the backs are no good. Again, if you want to see a dual-sided one, let me know. I don't know if you guys are tired of geode coasters or not. I try to do them every few months for the new people because it's a simple technique and it looks really pretty. So here's that and here's the back. So it would have been a completely different outcome with a clear layer poured first. You would have ended up with a crackle. So these are just one-sided. So I was thinking about tying in the centerpiece with this chrome marker in silver. So I think I'm just going to go around this top edge. Just the edge, I think. I don't think I'm going to do the side, but I think it'll go really well with the centerpiece. And it's really simple. I just kind of put the center of the marker over the edge and it guides itself at the same distance for the whole thing. You can go over it. If you're going to go over it again, which this doesn't look like it's going to need 2 coats, just make sure it's dried completely before you do it again. Otherwise you will just smear it and it won't work. So now it will rub off if you're handling it a lot. You could always top coat it again, but this is domed so well, you really can't top coat the edge of this because it's got a nice rounded edge there. So I didn't need to trim anything on these. So if you want these demos, they are also available on the eBay store. It's really helping me out keeping things out of my house. Everything's not piling up like it used to, and I'm so glad that people are enjoying the pieces. The pieces, obviously, that I'm not keeping. So I'm going to do the same thing to the other one, and I'll get you some final pictures, so stay tuned for those. And yeah, I will see you all tomorrow. Hope it'll be something fun. And you guys all have a blessed day. Bye.